Hi there, Eric DeValpine, Curt Nelson, partners at Austin Food Shed Investors. Curt, we've put together a bunch of tool sets, things to help us and to help companies. We've discovered over the course of working with a number of companies we have to date that there's a huge, not always huge, but there's always a learning curve. And that learning curve can include understanding where the company is in the context of not just where they are in a business, but what do they need to do to get ready to have the conversation with investors or lenders. So towards that, we've put together this readiness assessment. And sometimes it seems pretty intimidating. It's a pretty long list. But it's the purpose of that is really just to get everybody on the same page. Could you talk a little bit about it? You did a lot of thinking on this, and you've walked a number of companies through it, and it'd be great to hear about it.
Yeah, happy to do that. So just like every entrepreneur knows that in their business, there's a specific amount of domain knowledge. There's specific things that you know in that industry and in that business to be successful. Well, it turns out it's the exact same thing in raising capital. Whether you're raising capital from banks or private investors or venture capitalists or really any kind of place, there's securities law. There are established processes and practices. There are a number of different players that are involved in it. There is a domain of knowledge about fundraising. So to go into the fundraising process and not have an understanding of what that process is or who those players are really handicaps a company. What we wanted to do is we wanted to figure out a way how we could help people create a work plan that got them from wherever they are to being able to confidently go in front of investors, have all their ducks in a row. And by ducks in a row, I usually mean documents and proof and evidence that they are ready for accepting investment, and they're going to be able to use that money in a very productive way that will help their business out and that will actually allow the return to the investors. And so we created this thing called the Fundraising Readiness Assessment. And what it is a form. It's actually a Google form. And it asks a whole bunch of questions. There's 10 sections of it. It seems like it goes on forever. It takes about 30 minutes to get through it. What it is, though, is like a pretest. It's like if you remember back in school, sometimes at the beginning of the semester, that you would get a pretest to see what you knew. It wasn't the final. It's not the grade. It doesn't have really anything to do whether you do well or poorly in that class. It's just to find out where you are so that you can craft a plan to get to where you need to be. So our fundraising readiness assessment is that pretest. From that, then, we can find out what people know and what they don't know, what they're familiar with and what they're not familiar with, where they are confident and where they're not confident, where they're good and where they need help. So rather than forcing people through learning everything about this whole process, we only want to help people learn the things that they need to learn, kind of the critical path, kind of the just-in-time lean version of how do we actually get our organization ready to go talk to investors confidently. And so that's what it's all about. There's nothing in it about the actual content of someone's business, the content of their plan. It's really, do you know about this? Do you know about that? Do you need help with this? Do you need help with that? And it helps us immensely, along with a couple of other tools that we have, prepare for something called our Path Forward meeting. And in the Path Forward meeting, we get together with the entrepreneurs, we look at this pre-assessment and our impact analysis and our executive summary tool, and we say, what kind of work do we need to do to get you to a place where you can actually get a term sheet, actually talk to investors, actually close a deal?
And so we've actually deployed this a few times. We've had a number of companies go through it, and we've received some positive feedback to date. Some of which I think is that companies found it quite useful because it sort of demystified the process. It gave them clarity into the things that they would need to figure out, or at least that they didn't know. And kind of enable them to think about the process in a non-opaque way.
You know, it's funny that a number of companies that we didn't end up working together used this and found it to be very valuable. Now, some of the times we didn't end up working together is because going through just that process helped them get to a place where they nailed some other investment. Went to friends and family or met some investor that was ready to go. And so this is publicly available. We don't charge for this thing. It's up there on the web. We're looking for people to use it. We're looking for entrepreneurs to understand what the fundraising process is, to be able to use the tool to help get themselves ready and then move on down the path to their eventual success.
That's right, and that's great. And part of the intent there, having these resources and tools up like this, is really we want to help entrepreneurs with their business, whether or not they actually come to us and raise money through AFI.
There's other videos in this series that talk about lots of different kinds of capital. We're just one. We want to find the right capital for the company and the entrepreneur's needs, get that to them, and then help them create a positive impact in the world and at the same time grow their business and be successful as entrepreneurs, and then give back and run the cycle all over again.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for walking us through the readiness assessment tool.
Thank you.